Today is the day, folks. Game 7 of the NLCS here in South Beach. The Miami Marlins have an opportunity to advance to the World Series today. They also have an opportunity to have their season ended today. The biggest and most important game of this franchise series so far is about to go down. So get your popcorn, get comfortable, because this is a big one. Welcome back, everybody, to the Miami Marlins franchise here on MLB The Show 23. Of course, today we've got Game 7. Zack Wheeler on the bump against Tarik Skubal with the National League pennant on the line. Last episode, we went through Games 5 and 6. We ended up splitting those two. The home team is now 6-0 in this series, and that starts with a road loss in Game 5 with Edward Cabrera on the mound against the much inferior, with all due respect, Nick Abel. The Phillies scored 3 in the first off of Cabrera. They did not score after that, but they did not need to because the runs that they got early was enough to win the game. The Marlins got guys on base, but they were not clutch with runners on and did not make big hits, whereas Game 6, they did. This was a game that the Phillies had control really the entire time. They generally had the lead, but then in the 8th inning, it's Woody Landry, who had a great game the entire way with 3 hits, getting a big 2-run homer. He also scored 2 additional times en route to a 5-4 victory. Woody Landry's had his fair share of struggles this postseason run, but he has really picked it up here against the Phillies. And in Game 6 in particular, he was our best offensive player, and without him, we don't win that game. So that brings us to where we are now. Game 7 at home with the NL title on the line. The Tampa Bay Rays patiently awaiting to see who they will host for Game 1 of the World Series. I'm curious to see which players step up and or which players fall short. We've had guys like Bo Bichette, Jazz Chisholm. Those guys have played like superstars. Nick Fortes and Jesus Sanchez have taken a leap. But other guys have played below expectations. The pitching has been a mixed bag, and Tarik Skubal has been at the bad end of that mix, and he's on the mound today. Edward Cabrera is unavailable to pitch. Sandy Alcantara is unavailable to pitch. So we need Tarik Skubal to prove why we acquired him at the trade deadline and send us to the World Series. Welcome, everybody, to Game 7 of the NLCS here in Miami. The Marlins look to make the World Series for just the first time in almost a quarter century and the third time in franchise history. The team standing in their way is the Philadelphia Phillies, who hope to continue their Red October. So far, the home team in this series is 6-0, and that trend bodes well for the Marlins. But what doesn't bode well for them is that the Phillies have had the upper hand over the Marlins throughout the year, and that was a big reason why Atlanta lost to Miami in the previous round, because the Marlins have had their number throughout the season. The Phillies also appear to have the pitching advantage. Zack Wheeler's been phenomenal in the postseason. Tarik Skubal certainly has not. The Marlins are mixing up the lineup card a little bit. Luis Arias has led off in every game this postseason. He's going to slide all the way to the 9 hole. He's only hitting .212. He's been struggling, and the Marlins are going to try to switch some things up. Let's take a look at Tarik Skubal, who's only pitched in 2 games so far in this postseason. Hasn't really been good in either of them. He's allowed 9 runs in 10 innings so far with a whip at 1.4, but he's got an opportunity to avenge those mistakes today. Justin Crawford strikes out on the slider. Crawford, the young outfielder, has really performed well over these past few games for the Phils. Bryce Harper has also performed quite well for the Phillies, which is certainly less of a surprise. He lines out to center. Jazz Chisholm makes the play. And Tarik Skubal retires the side here in the top of the first inning. Pretty good start. Let's take a look at Zack Wheeler, who's going to be on the mound for his 4th time this playoff run. The numbers are outstanding. 1.23 ERA, 1.09 whip. He was dominant in his first 2 starts of the playoffs against the Padres and the Cubs. He pitched in Game 2 of the NLCS against the Marlins, and he was fine. He didn't pitch poorly, but he certainly didn't pitch great either. Jazz Chisholm batting leadoff today. Strikes out on the fastball. Chisholm hit for big power early in the postseason, but he's hit for more contact against the Phillies without a homer in the NLCS. Here's Bo Bichette singling into right. Bo has had a lot to prove this year after signing a one-year contract in the offseason, and he has absolutely proven it with a great postseason run. Doesn't look like he's going to score, though, as Luis Robert pops up to second. It's caught by Bryson Stott. And through the first inning, we have no score. We'll see if that changes here in the second. The middle of the Phillies order is up. That'll start with Rhys Hoskins, who's had some really good individual performances against the Marlins in this series, and he starts his day strong with a base hit into left. So the Phillies get a runner aboard to start the inning. Randall Grichuk now grounds it to third. Diaz to Arise to Landry. It's a 5-4-3 double play. Just the second game that Randall Grichuk has started in this postseason series, being that the Marlins have a lefty on the mound, as JT Realmuto strikes out on the fastball, and Tarik Skubal makes it through 2. So far, Skubal has looked the part, as has Zach Wheeler. Bottom 2, here's Nick Fortes. Hits this one high and deep in the right center at the track near the wall. It is going to drop. Fortes on his high horse makes it over to second base with a double. The Marlins get a runner in scoring position. Let's see if they can drive him in and put themselves on the board. Yandy Diaz is up now for Miami. He's had a solid postseason offensively, hitting .333 as he rips it up the middle. That'll go for a base hit. Fortes looks to score, and he is safe. The Miami Marlins first on the board here in Game 7 with an RBI single from Yandy Diaz. That'll bring up Luis Arise batting in the 9-hole today. He's got a lot to prove as he's really struggled throughout the postseason. Swings at a pitch he shouldn't have, pops it to third, and it's caught by Lee. The Marlins do score. Strong inning off of the RBI single by Yandy Diaz as it's 1-0 into the third. Nick Castellanos goes down on the 12-6. Nasty pitch from Tarik Skubal as he now faces off against fellow lefty Bryson Stott, who rips it down the line and fair into the left field corner. De La Cruz gets to it as quick as he can, but Stott is aboard at second with a double, and the Phillies have a runner in scoring position. Let's see if they can drive him in. That'll bring up the third baseman, Hao-Yu Lee. He hits this one high and deep into right field. Sanchez at the track at the wall. It's gone! A 2-run homer for Hao-Yu Lee. And the Philadelphia Phillies take a 2-1 lead. How about that for Hao-Yu Lee? His first home run of the entire playoffs, and it came at a gigantic time. That ball barely scraping over the fence, only 92 off the bat, going 343 feet. That's not the prettiest homer, but it goes over the fence, and that's really all that matters. And the Phillies take their first lead here in Game 7. Big swing for Hao-Yu Lee at the bottom of the order, coming up big. Crawford now hits this one into foul territory, into right at the wall. It is caught by Jesus Sanchez. Good inning, though, for the Phillies. They take the lead with a 2-run blast from Hao-Yu Lee. Let's see if the Marlins can try to get this lead back as we enter the bottom of the third inning. Bo Bichette is up for the Marlins. The sweet spot of the order due up. And Bo definitely got a piece of this one. High and deep in a right center at the track at the wall. It is caught. I really thought that one had enough carry to at least be an extra base hit, but unfortunately not the case. That'll bring up Woody Landry now. He's got a full count here with 2 away, and Woody's going to draw a walk. Take your base, young man. And so he is aboard for Luis Robert, who of course did not play before the NLCS due to injury. He has performed fairly well against the Phillies, but he starts today 0 for 2 as he grounds out to short, and the Phillies lead it 2-1 through 3 in what has been a pretty exciting game so far. Rhys Hoskins in the fourth, lines it into left field for a base hit. A rocket off the bat at 110, and Hoskins is now 2 for 2 here in Game 7. Randall Grichuk goes down looking. Big pitch from Tarik Skubal, and that'll bring up the former Marlin, JT Realmuto, with a liner into left center field. And that one is gone. That was a great pitch by Skubal, a curveball out of the strike zone, but JT Realmuto crushes it. That ball did not go overly high, a launch angle sub 30, but he hit the ball so hard that it had enough carry to go over the fence. I can't really blame Skubal there. That was an awesome pitch with 2 strikes, but JT Realmuto squares it up, and the best catcher in the game times it perfectly. What a swing for the former Marlin, JT Realmuto, and the Phillies lead at 4-1. They've built a nice little lead. That'll bring up Nick Castellanos. I like to think of myself as a man of faith, as there's a drive in a deep left field, and that'll go for a home run. What horrible disaster will occur today? I think it would qualify that today's disaster is the Marlins being down by 4 here in Game 7. Big swing for Castellanos, his second homer of the postseason. Unlike Real Muto's, that ball was way out of here. So Tarek Skubal allows back-to-back homers here in the 4th inning. He's allowed 3 total, and that one might just yank him out of the game. I think he knew it as soon as it hit the bat of Castellanos. Manager Skip Shoemaker is going to come out and bring Skubal out of the game. A disappointing Game 7 for the Southpaw. 3 2/3 innings, allowing 5 runs, 3 of which came off of homers. Max Meyer will come in to replace him. I imagine the Marlins are going to be using all of their best relievers today, so I don't think this is going to be some 3-inning game for Meyer. But he has pitched well in the postseason, and we'll see if he can get out of the 4th against Bryson Stott, who strikes out on the circle change. Not a good inning at all for Miami, as JT Realmuto drives in 2 off of a liner over the fence, and Nick Castellanos on the very next at-bat goes deep as well. The Marlins have now dug themselves in a hole, and only them will be able to dig themselves out. Jesus Sanchez leads off the bottom of the 4th into the gap. That one will go for extra bases, 110 off the bat. Sanchez safe at second with a double. Jesus Sanchez has been a legit star in the NLCS against the Phillies. Numerous multiple hit games. He's had 3 homers against the Phillies. He has been awesome. Nick Fortes draws a walk, and the Marlins start the bottom of the 4th with 2 base runners. That'll bring up Brian De La Cruz, who has struggled with guys on base this year. Hits it down the line, but it goes just foul. That would have scored at least 1, maybe 2. Couple pitches later, it's now a full count for Brian De La Cruz, and he hits this one high and fairly deep into right field. Back at the track, at the wall, it's gone! 3-run homer for Brian De La Cruz, and the Miami Marlins are right back in it. It's now 5-4. The Marlins looked like they were in a lot of trouble. They allow 3 in the top of the 4th. So what do in the bottom half of the inning? Get 3 right back. Big swing for Brian De La Cruz, just his 2nd homer of the playoffs. De La Cruz has not had a good postseason run, point blank, period. He has struggled with runners on base, and he has struck out in like 38% of his at-bats. But when he needs a big play, he gets it. So the Marlins are right back in it. Yandy Diaz can't keep the momentum going, though, as he strikes out. That'll bring up Luis Ariz now. Again, as we've mentioned, he's got a lot to prove today. And Luis Ariz hits a pitch out of the zone for a single into center field. So the Marlins get another runner aboard. Can they possibly tie this game here, or maybe even take the lead? Bichette lines it to second, caught by Stott. That'll end a very busy 4th inning. The Phillies score 3. The Marlins get 3 of their own off of a homer into right field by Brian De La Cruz. This game just got real interesting, folks. As we move into the 5th, your score 5-4 in favor of Philadelphia. Trey Turner's going to keep the offense coming as he rips it into the gap. It'll one-hop off the wall, and that'll be a double for the speedster. So Turner is on second base with 1 away. The Marlins will make a pitching change, bringing Max Meyer out, replacing him with A.J. Puck. The next 2 Phillies batters are lefties, so the Marlins are trying to pay attention here to the matchups and make their pitching change based off of that. Bryce Harper, grounder over to first. Woody Landry should tag the base, and A.J. Puck does his job. He gets the 2 outs, only throwing 4 pitches within the 2 at-bats. Bottom 5, Woody Landry leads things off for the Marlins, and he will hit this one high and deep into center field. At the track, it is out of here, we're tied. Woody Landry with his 3rd homer of the playoffs and his 2nd in as many games. Again, I get that Woody Landry has struggled in the postseason, but over these last few games, really this entire series as a whole, he has played a lot better. And over these last couple of games, he's been an entirely different player to what we saw against the Dodgers and the Braves. A big home run for Woody Landry to tie it at 5. Just minutes ago, the Phillies are up 5-1, and I didn't know if this team would be able to climb out of that deficit. Not only did they climb out of it, but they do it extremely quickly. Let's see if the offense can keep the good times rolling. Luis Ariz hits this one really hard, but maybe a little too hard, as it's not going to drop and instead is caught by Randal Grichuk. That'll bring up Jesus Sanchez now. He's behind 1-2. And Sanchez crushes this ball into right center. No way this one stays in the park. It's gone into the second deck. Somebody needs to bring the paternity tests out because Jesus Sanchez, you are the father of the Phillies. The Marlins take the lead off of a homer by Sanchez, his 5th of the postseason and his 4th of the Philadelphia Phillies. Win or lose this game, the Phillies have to be relieved that this is the last time they're going to see Jesus Sanchez this year, because my God, has he been unbelievable this entire playoff run, and here in Game 7 he launches a nuke into the second deck to put the Marlins ahead, and that'll yank Zach Wheeler out of the game. Wheeler did not have his best stuff today, allowing 6 runs in 4 1/3 innings, and he allowed 3 homers himself to De La Cruz, Landry, and then that bomb by Jesus Sanchez. So Griff McGarry is going to come into the game for the Phillies. Philadelphia's bullpen has not been consistent at all here in the playoffs. They've had their good performances and their bad ones. With 2 away, here's Brian De La Cruz with a single up the middle. Similarly to what we talked about with Woody Landry, De La Cruz has not had a good postseason run, but over the last 2 games, he has looked like an entirely different player. Obviously, he had the big homer earlier, and he reaches base once again. That'll bring up Yandy Diaz. He strikes out in the curveball. Very good inning, though, for the Marlins. They take the lead with a pair of home runs and a pair of piss missiles from Woody Landry and then Jesus Sanchez. Both of these homers were pretty much no doubters, as they were absolutely crushed, especially this one by Sanchez. I don't know if I've ever seen a better swing from Jesus Sanchez in his life. Rhys Hoskins in the 6th with an infield single, his 3rd hit of the game. They're going to call that a single rather than an error. I think that's the right call. That was a really tough play by Bo Bichette, and I think Hoskins would have been safe anyway. Randal Grichuk strikes out on the circle change. Good pitch there by Puck. Full count for Real Muto. He draws a walk. The Phillies have had at-bats of 8, 9, and 6 pitches in this inning. So A.J. Puck, whose pitch count has gone from really low to really high very quickly, will be taken out of the game and replaced by Dylan Tate, who is not allowed a run so far in the postseason. The Phillies have 2-1, and they should tie it here. Into the corner is Nick Castellanos. Sanchez gets to it as quick as he can. He makes a great angle on the ball, which prevents the runner at third from scoring. Now, unfortunately, on the play, Castellanos appears to have strained a tricep. He'll be taken out of the game. I don't know if it happened when he swung or when he slid into second, but he'll be removed here. His NLCS is over. At first, I was kind of worried that Jesus Sanchez could have pulled a hammy or something in the outfield because he was going so fast after that ball. But it's Castellanos instead who will be replaced by Brandon Marsh, who gives the Phillies more speed on the bases, which might be important here. Bryson Stott strikes out on the circle change. Big pitch from Tate. And that'll bring up Hao-Yu Lee. He had the homer earlier. Can he come up big again? It does not look like he will. Pops this one into right. Sanchez after it will make the play. Through 6, we are tied at 6. What an exciting Game 7 we have been treated to. And we've still got plenty of baseball left to be played. Can the Marlins get this lead back? Let's find out. The offense has scored 5 runs in the last 2 innings. They're hot. They're feeling themselves. They've got 3 homers in that span. As Luis Ariz probably should have looked at that pitch for a walk. But hey, that works too. A single into center. His 2nd hit of the game. And Luis Ariz, when he is needed to step up after a rough postseason, he has stepped up. Jazz Chisholm now into left center. That ball goes off the wall. Luis Ariz is going to hold up at third. There's nobody out. The Marlins have no excuse not to score him or Jazz Chisholm, who's in scoring position after a hard-hit double into left center. The heart of the order is up with 2 runners in scoring position as Bo Bichette strikes out on the curveball. Griff McGarry may not be the best, but his curveball is filthy. My goodness, the way it just hangs up and goes down so quickly, it's nasty. There's the changeup this time with Woody Landry, who gets fooled. McGarry's off-speed stuff is just ridiculous. Luis Robert into right. This one could drop, and it does not, and it'll be caught by Harper. So the Marlins start the inning with 2 runners in scoring position, and then their 2, 3, 4 hitters, supposedly some of the best hitters in the lineup, do nothing. In this situation, the Marlins might regret not taking advantage of that opportunity. To start the 7th, Turner flies out into center. That'll bring up Justin Crawford, who swings and misses at the inside slider. Ball gets by Fortes. The throw to first is not in time, and Crawford reaches base despite the strikeout. The Marlins are going to challenge the call here. There's really no reason not to. The Marlins aren't going to be able to use their challenge after the 7th inning, so they might as well, especially because it looked like he was out originally. And, oh my goodness, that is really close. But I do think the runner, Justin Crawford, was out. If we take a look at this angle, it almost looks like he steps on the base the exact same time that the ball is in Woody's glove. It might be too close to ultimately overturn. However, they will rule him out. So the Marlins catch a big break there. The challenge is successful, and Justin Crawford is out at first. That'll bring up Bryce Harper now behind 1-2. Harper down the line. It is foul. That one looked like it was fair the entire way, but the Marlins catch another break. As we look at the replay here, I honestly thought in real time it dropped fair. It looks like it goes right on the edge of the line. And as you can see it again, that ball is literally centimeters away from being probably a double. Following pitch for Harper. He's going to crush it into center field instead. Leave it to Bryce Harper to ruin the fun. His 8th home run of the playoffs, and it is now 7-6. Similarly with Jesus Sanchez, the Marlins have to be relieved that this is the last of Bryce Harper they're going to see for a while. Bryce Harper in the month of October is just a completely different animal. And in this series, he has taken over games, and he does exactly that here in Game 7 with a homer into straightaway center. This duel between Bryce Harper and Jesus Sanchez has been one for the ages, and Harper's obviously been around the block. He's had some big postseason homers. This one at the top of the list. So Tate will be removed by Camilo Doval. The Marlins have changed their strategy with relievers. They're being less patient and bringing guys in the middle of innings. The Marlins have not had a reliever come in at the beginning of an inning all day today. So Doval faces off against Hoskins, who's 3 for 3, make it 3 for 4. The grounder to third. Quick inning for Doval, but the Phillies get a run. Solo shot into center field by Bryce Harper. Philadelphia back on top. It's now 7-6. These two teams are passing this lead around like a blunt, so fittingly, the Marlins offense has got to respond, right? And look who's leading off the inning. It's Jesus Sanchez, who grounds it to short. Uneventful at bat. It's not like Jesus Sanchez is batting 1,000. As good as he's been, you can't expect him to be perfect as he grounds it out to Turner. And the Marlins season comes down to these final 8 outs. Nick Fortes now. Broken bat. Grounder to second. And it'll be tossed over to first by Bryson Stott. The Marlins now 7 outs away from having their season ended. Brian De La Cruz is in a big game. Homer drove in 3 earlier today. Pops it up. Stott is under it. He'll make the play as Griff McGarry retires beside. Could this be one of those good Phillies bullpen days? We're certainly hoping not, but so far since McGarry's entered the game, he's been phenomenal. It remains 7-6 in favor of the Phils as we move into the 8th. Doval's still in the game as Luis Ariz makes a sick backhanded throw to first, off the grounder by Randall Grichuk for out number 1. That'll bring up JT Realmuto. Pops it into left. De La Cruz is under it, and it looks like he will make the play for out number 2. Camilo Doval's doing his job, even though the rest of the bullpen has been inconsistent today for Miami. Brandon Marsh goes down looking on the cutter. So Doval faces 4, and he retires 4. Good inning for Camilo Doval. Now let's see what the offense can do in the bottom of the 8th as it remains 7-6. Will the Phillies make a pitching change? They do. It looks like they're going to go to the back end of their bullpen now. The lefty Gregory Soto checks in here. I assume the plan is for Jorge Lopez to close the 9th if Soto does not allow any runs here. Soto has struggled against the Marlins in this series, however, as Yandy Diaz starts with a grounder to short, and Trey Turner makes the play for out number 1. The Marlins season now comes down to these next 5 outs. Luis Ariz lines it into left field for a base hit. I called Luis Ariz out before the game. We moved him down in the order, and what does he do? He gets 3 hits. Big showing today for Luis Ariz, who will be replaced by the pinch runner Esteury Ruiz. If not now, when? Why not bring out the speedster? Jazz Chisholm hits this one high and deep into right field. At the track, at the wall, it's caught by Bryce Harper. That one almost had enough carry, but not quite. And so now the season comes down to these next 4 outs. That'll bring up Bo Bichette. Ooh, that's a tough pitch to lay off. It's in the strike zone, but he gets the call. Wow, he is awfully lucky. The 3-2. Bichette hits this one high and deep into right field. Back at the track, at the wall, it is caught. Man, I thought that one had enough. The Marlins sent 2 to the warning track out in right field from Jazz Chisholm and Bo Bichette. Both of them would have taken the lead, but they just don't have enough carry. That swing from Bo especially was literally inches from going over. Into the 9th inning, Devin Williams comes into the game for the Marlins. It's not a save opportunity, but he's the best reliever yet. And the Marlins, well, who else are they going to put in? Chisholm cannot make the catch off the hit from Stott. Chisholm throws it to first for Lord knows what reason. I promised I pressed triangle there to send it over to second base. But Stott's going to take advantage and get a triple. A rare defensive miscue from Jazz Chisholm, and that's going to lead the Phillies to getting a run. Most likely, because Jesus Sanchez launches a rocket to the plate, and Stott is just barely safe. As good as Jesus Sanchez has been offensively, his defense today has been awesome. Turner goes down looking on the screwball. 1-2 for Crawford. Got him on the cutter. So the Phillies add another run here in the 9th inning, which is not ideal. And the season comes down to this. The Marlins are down by 2 in the bottom of the 9th inning with the 3, 4, 5 hitters. Landry, Robert, and Sanchez due up. The closer, Jorge Lopez, is into the game for the save to potentially send the Phillies to the World Series. We'll start with Woody Landry. Hits this one well into left. There's one base hit. And so the Marlins open up the inning with a runner, and the tying run is at the plate. The winning run is on deck. That'll bring up Luis Robert, who's had a rough Game 7, 0 for 4. Can he fix it here? It looks like he will. A single into right field. The tying run is on base. The winning run is at the plate. And guess who's up? It's Jesus Sanchez, who's dominated the Phillies through the entire series. Wouldn't it be storybook for him to walk it off and send the Marlins to the World Series? Or hell, a base hit of any kind works just as well. So Sanchez is behind 1-2. Pitch from Lopez. Got him on the sinker. Wow, that's a big strikeout for the Phillies. Ground ball ends the game here for Nick Fortes, and it goes up the middle. Stott makes the play. This could end it. Turner to first, and the Phillies have won the pennant. Philadelphia goes back to the World Series for the first time in 5 years, and the 2026 campaign comes to an end in heartbreaking fashion for the Miami Marlins. Wow, what a game, what a season, what a ride it has been, but unfortunately it falls short here at home in the NLCS. The home team has won every game of the NLCS until Game 7 as the Phillies shock the world on the road. The lowest seeded team in the postseason in the National League is going to the World Series with the Tampa Bay Rays waiting at home for Game 1 at the Trop. An unfortunate loss here for the Marlins. These guys fought until the very end, and I really thought this could have been our year. Once we knocked out the Braves, we were the team to beat in the National League. Cleveland and Tampa Bay aren't necessarily flawless themselves in the AL. I really thought we had what it took to go all the way, and I feel like we did have what it took, but we just fell short here in Game 7. The Phillies offense came to play. 3 hits for Hoskins, 2 for Castellanos, including a homer before he got hurt. Real Muto had a big homer. Lee had a big homer. Harper with the homer in the 7th to put them ahead. The Phillies went deep 4 times today, and our pitching just was not good enough. As for their pitching, tale of two sides. Zach Wheeler struggled, but the bullpen, man, what a performance, especially Griff McGarry, who has really struggled against the Marlins. He was great. We could not hit the ball really after Weaver was taken out of the game. And our offense was so good early. We had the 3 in the 4th off of the homer by De La Cruz. Landry and Sanchez go deep in the 5th. and then we didn't score after that. But it's not like we didn't give ourselves opportunities. We had 2 balls go to the warning track in the 8th. We started the 9th with 2 runners aboard. We gave ourselves chances. We just didn't come up big. Tarek Skubal did not pitch well. The bullpen was not all that great today. The pitching's been good throughout the playoffs, but they sell us short here in Game 7, and it's going to cost us our season. The Miami Marlins have been eliminated, and the Phillies are going to the World Series against the Tampa Bay Rays, a rematch of the 2008 World Series. To think that was 18 years ago. My goodness. Let's real quick recap this playoff run before we wrap things up here. It's been a really fun postseason, and these Marlins accomplished a lot this year. We beat the Dodgers in the wild card round. We shocked the world against Atlanta, the best team in baseball. We won the first 2 games against the Phillies. We were 6-1 at the playoffs at that point, and all we had to do was not lose 4 of 5. And sure enough, we lost 4 of 5. We had a ton of close games here in the postseason. Every game except for one was decided by 3 runs. That was our Game 4 loss in Philadelphia that we lost by 5. We got to see star players really look like stars. Bichette, Chisholm, Robert when healthy. Woody Landry was great down the stretch. Jesus Sanchez, Nick Fortes, those guys were awesome. But the rest of the lineup, they fell short, especially at the end. And then the pitching was just not consistent. Of our 4 starters, only one of them, Edward Cabrera, was good. The bullpen was fairly good for the most part, but they had a couple games, including Game 7, where they just fell apart. And as we go into the offseason, I don't think this team is going to be able to run it back because we've got so many guys who are free agents. Tarek Skubal, damn near the entire bullpen. A.J. Puck and Reynaldo Lopez had their deals up. Jordan Hicks has a player option. Dylan Tate has a mutual option. We could have a totally new bullpen next year, and then the infield is going to be probably entirely different as well. Luis Arraez, Bo Bichette, Gavin Lux, and Yandy Diaz are all free agents, and we can't bring everybody back because we've got so many guys to pay the following year. Sandy Alcantara, Devin Williams, Nick Fortes, Brian De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, and Luis Robert are all free agents next offseason, and then Jazz Chisholm is going to be a free agent the following offseason. So even though we've been able to retain some of our stars with big extensions, such as Woody Landry and Edward Cabrera, we've got a lot of other guys who are going to be free agents within the next year or two. And because of that, we're going to have some tough decisions to make because obviously we can't pay everyone. Over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to have 5 guys, I think, sign $100+ million contracts. Tarek Skubal, Sandy Alcantara, Bo Bichette, Jazz Chisholm, Luis Robert, I think they're all going to sign for triple figures. And then some of those other guys are going to sign for big money too. Devin Williams, Brian De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, Luis Arraez, Gavin Lux. We cannot realistically bring all these guys back, being that we are a small market, small budget team. And that's where the challenge of this series is really going to come in. How are we going to replace certain players? Have we developed enough guys in the farm system to be able to step up maybe earlier than expected? We've got a really pivotal offseason coming in the next episode, and I'm excited to see how it unfolds. That episode will be likely premiering this Friday, so make sure to stay tuned. I hope everybody enjoyed. I know it was not the end of the season we wanted, but an awesome season nonetheless. We've got some big decisions in the offseason. Let me know what you guys think we should do down below in the comments. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.